Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time of day I have you. I hope you have an amazing day. This video is intended to be a video lesson over math problems, the text that we read last week. So before I go into the questions, I'm going to actually take time to reread this passage. Remember, we started with reading the title, making a prediction, writing our prediction. We pulled out our key vocabulary words, which was frantically, steps, anxious, and jumbled. We did some vocabulary practice, and we went into the reading of the text. So that's what I'm going to start with, the reading of the text, math problems. Miss Alexander wrote frantically on the board as she explained the steps to solve the math problem. It felt like she was trying to win a race for the fastest math class ever taught. I tried to keep up, but it was no use. The steps were jumbled in my head, and I looked around. My apologies. I looked around. My classmates seemed to be following along fine. I felt like she was speaking a foreign language, and I was the only one who didn't understand. I was drowning in a sea of unsolved math problems. I would never be able to pass the test on Friday. I was beginning to panic. It was October, and I realized that I didn't belong in Miss Alexander's advanced 6th grade math class. I was struggling. I never understood the homework, and I failed most of the quizzes. Still, my parents were going to find out that my math grade was far lower than expected. In elementary school, I had done well in math. However, Miss Alexander introduced letters alongside the numbers, I was totally lost. I should have asked her to slow down, but I was afraid. I had questions, but I was too embarrassed to ask. Paragraph 3. I knew I needed to do something because I needed to pass the test on Friday, or else I would fail math. I went home that night and looked over my notes. They didn't make any sense. I looked in the textbook and tried to do practice problems, but it was useless. I got all of the wrong answers. The test was 4 days away, and I didn't know how I would pass. The next day at school, my class went the same as always. Miss Alexander wrote problems on the board, and we solved them. When she went over the answers, mine were all wrong. When she explained how to solve the problems, I was lost. I was beginning to lose hope. Then I noticed my neighbor, Molly Hunter, sitting a row away. When we played review games, she always won, and she always volunteered to solve problems on the board. Molly and I weren't exactly friends, but she rode my bus, and we said hello to each other in the hallways. I felt anxious telling her about my struggles in class, but I knew that Molly wasn't the type of person who would make fun of a classmate. So I gathered my courage and caught up to her as she left class. I confessed to her that I was falling behind and asked if she would be willing to help me. Luckily, she agreed to help. We made plans to meet at her house after school. That afternoon, she explained how to solve math problems. She went slowly so I could follow along, and she answered all of my questions. She was patient, so I never felt self-conscious. After a few hours of hard work, I felt like I was finally starting to understand. Molly even said that helping me was a good way for her to study. I felt better prepared for the test, but I still continued to practice the rest of the week. On the day of the test, I felt confident for the first time all year. Miss Alexander handed out the test, and I breezed through the problems. I was certain that I had gotten a good grade, thanks to Molly's help. When I left class that day, I knew I would remember that math class for the rest of my life. Not only did I learn a life lesson, I also made a new friend. Let's go to the questions. We're going to start at question number 1. If you would like to take time to pause this video to locate your text, your questions related to it. I'll give you about 2 minutes to go and locate your math problems, which is located under the April 27th and April 28th assignment, so that you can check your answers while we review questions 1 through 10. So I'm going to pause and let you guys take at least 2 minutes to locate your text math problems, which is located under the April 27th and April 28th assignment. We will hear a timer in 2 minutes. That's when I'm going to start going over question number 1. Again, please locate your text at this time so we can review these questions together. And you have about 30 more seconds before I start going on question number 1. Okay, let's get into question number 1. This was the example that I used last week to give you an example of how to use text evidence. So I'm going to reread question number 1 and go through the answer choices in my evidence. Number 1, look at the dictionary entry below. I'm going to read it. Steps is the noun. 1, a movement of the foot by raising it and placing it in a spot. 2, an action in a series. 3, a stair. 4, a movement within a dance sequence. Now I'm going to read the question. Which definition matches the word steps as used in paragraph 1? Let me go back to paragraph 1 and find my vocabulary word steps, which is here. Once I'm done highlighting it, then I'm going to read the sentence. Miss Alexander worked frantically on the board as she explained the steps to solve the math problem. Now I'm going to go back to my answer choices. Are they talking about a movement of the foot by raising it and placing it in another spot? No. 2, an action in a series? Maybe. 3, a stair? No, they are not talking about stairs. 4, or D, a movement within a dance sequence? No, because we aren't talking about a dance, so my answer is B. Miss Alexander is talking about more than one step in the math problem. So she's giving us more than one step in order for us to solve this math problem. Number 2. So my answer is B for number 1. 2. What is the central message that the author presents in this selection? Let's look at F. When things get hard, you should give up. G. Math is the hardest subject to learn. H. Telling your parents about bad grades is the right thing to do. J. It is okay to ask for help when you need it. So two that I'm going to eliminate is F and G. That was not the author's message. Another word for a central message is the author's message or main idea. What's the main idea? What is this text mostly about? Telling your parents about bad grades is the right thing to do. Well, that's not what majority of this text is about. So my answer is J. It is okay to ask for help when you need it. We see that the main character or the narrator does have a hard time at first asking for help, but eventually she asks Molly for help, and it worked out for her. 3. Read the following sentence from paragraph 1. I was drowning in a sea of unsolved math problems. The author includes this line to on us first to highlight the verbs. We have emphasize, describe, explain, and compare. If you need more clarity on either one of these any of these verbs, I would caution you before you get to the actual answer choice. Stop and define what these words mean. What does emphasize mean? If you want to put that out to the side, you can. Describe, you want to put that out to the left or to the right of the answer choice, that's fine. Explain and compare. That will help you decide if this line is emphasizing, describing, explaining, or comparing. So let's look at A. Is it emphasizing that the narrator is overwhelmed? Possibly, I'll leave that one. B. Describe how the narrator can't swim. Then that's a big no. Not talking about literally swimming. Speaking more figuratively. C. Explain that the math problems cannot be solved. Possibly, I'll leave that one. D. Compare the narrator's feelings to the other students in the class. I don't see anyone else's or any references to anyone else in this specific line, so I'm not going to go with that one. They're just talking about the narrator. So now down to A and C. My best answer is A. Emphasize that the narrator is overwhelmed. If you're drowning, that's not a good thing. We know that that's a sign of you need help. So my keyword from this line is drowning. My answer is C. How do I circle? Where's the drawing tool? Here we go. Not the best circle, but hey, we get the point, right? It is A. I'm also going to give you an opportunity to make test corrections. So if you get to the end and you see that you get less than the 70, that's okay. I'm going to give you time to make some test corrections. So even though I'm giving you the correct answer, you still have to provide me with evidence as to why this is, a justification as to why this is the correct answer. Number 4. What can the reader infer about the narrator's feelings towards Molly? Keywords: infer the narrator's feelings towards Molly. F. She was glad that she would not have to talk to Molly again. G. She was jealous that Molly was better in math. H. She was grateful for Molly's help. J. She was afraid Molly would tease her. So a few that I'm going to eliminate. I know that it is not F because in the end it does say that she gained a friend, so Molly's not her friend. She's not jealous of Molly because she goes to her and asks her for help. I know that was not true. And I know that there was a line in paragraph, let me find the paragraph, that said that Molly would never tease or make fun of a classmate.